What the Wagwan is happening, my people? We have a very special guest here with me today. His name is Nelson. Do you want to introduce yourself?
What's good, my people? My name's Nelson. I worked in a warehouse job. Now I make 50 grand a month selling digital products.
What did you do to kind of take that first step out of that situation that you were in?
We got kicked out of our home that we've had for 18 years, and I felt so powerless. I wanted to be a man to provide for the family, and I couldn't even do that. You can make all the money in the world, but at the end of the day, it's just money, and it's going to be there. It's something that doesn't make you more valuable or more fulfilled in a certain way.
Talk to us a bit about Poly Takeover and kind of what inspired you to start that. What the Wagwan is happening, my people? We have a very special guest here with me today. His name is Nelson. He's a 19-year-old Polynesian.
20.
You want to... 20. He's grown now. You want to introduce yourself?
What's good, my people? My name's Nelson. I worked in a warehouse job. Now I make 50 grand a month selling digital products. And I live with my boy, Marcel. But that's a little bit about me.
We're going to be going over our journeys, how we kind of got into where we are now, how we scaled to 50K a month. Basically, both of us, since we started posting content, since we started our journey, basically catapulted within a couple months to $50,000 a month, and hopefully give you guys some insight on how you can do the same thing. So very first thing that I wanted to go over for both of us, which was what was life like prior to this, basically, and then we'll kind of go into what made us take action and switch it up and get to where we are now. So Nelly, if you want to let us know exactly like what life was looking like before this and what actually inspired you to take a change or make a change.
Yeah, so pretty much I was working a warehouse job straight out of high school. Thought I had a passion in sports. You know, I was playing semi-professional my last year of high school. I quit playing, and then I started working a warehouse job. I started working a warehouse job for over 2 years. Started working with my brother, and then I just felt like every other Polynesian after that. I knew I needed to make a change. So I started to look for ways to do that. And then started playing sports again, and then I actually got injured. So I got injured while I was playing sports, and I couldn't work. So I needed to actually find a way to make money at the same time. So that's pretty much how I came across this, how I started, what life looked like for me before all this. But yeah, nothing crazy. It's only been 2 years since then, but Marcel's got the story for you. So what was life like?
I want to know what it was like in that warehouse. So when you're working in this warehouse and you're playing ball, then you get injured, how'd you actually feel being in that warehouse every day? Because I was a warehouse worker as well at one point.
Yeah, well, pretty much all we did, bro, was just chuck boxes onto a conveyor all day in the hot. And then as soon as I got there, they said, oh yeah, you're going to do this job. So I was profiled straight away that I was just going to be doing what every other Polynesians did. So from there, I already felt some type of way about it because my whole family pretty much worked a warehouse job. And then, yeah, just chucking boxes all day in the heat, pretty much 8 hours a day, nothing crazy. But yeah, just got sick of doing the same thing over and over. It wasn't really the work, it was just doing the same work over and over and over again in the heat as well. And then, yeah, just that's pretty much what it was like for me, bro.
Because I was working in a warehouse as well, and the main thing that I kind of felt like working in a warehouse or even like sometimes laboring like on a site was just you're doing such a robotic task. You're doing something that literally like anyone could do. So one, you kind of feel like valueless, and two, you kind of get in your own thoughts a lot, right? Because all you're doing all day is just like the most robotic shit ever. So I was constantly questioning things, and I was constantly like asking myself questions and trying to figure out exactly why I was in the position I was in. And sometimes maybe being in a situation like that where you're doing really robotic work could potentially be a good thing, because it forces you to kind of get in your own head and be like, is this something that I can do forever? And for probably both of us, it was something where you're so discontent and you're like, you feel so restarted basically and useless, where it's like, I actually got to do something that changes. Yeah. If you're doing a job that you somewhat enjoy, then you're not really going to have that discontentment to get out of it. But was there a switch moment for you where you were like, no, I actually do need to get out of this, I need to change it?
Yeah, well, like I said, I used to play basketball, and I was a semi-pro, and I was talking to one of the elders there. I was telling him about my story, and he pretty much lit the light in my head that, because he worked there for 30 years, and the biggest thing he missed out on was just time with his family. And that for me was a big thing when he told me, you know, he missed out on so much time with his family. And then he said, chase your dreams. He said, you knew you could have been someone if you really chased your dreams. And for me, I thought it was just going to go back playing sports and pursue that but because I got injured, everything happened for a reason. It led me to where I am now. So that was probably the turning point when I spoke to him, when he was telling me about his journey and what I should do in order to chase my dreams. So I reckon it was that part, bro. But
Similar thing for me. No one really said anything to me. Everyone was kind of like, "You're just useless." But the biggest thing for me was kind of, it was a period of work where I was doing like really, really useless work. Like the biggest thing I remember is for like a whole 2 week period, all I would do would be like shovel mud into 2 buckets and then carry them like 50 meters onto the same side and just dump them near a bin. And I was doing this for like 2 weeks. So you can imagine doing something like that for 2 weeks straight. The whole time I just had my AirPods in and I would just be listening to like podcasts, ebooks, different stuff about business. Because I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm doing this. And it's what I always tell people is like, you would experience it because we both speak to people that want to get into what we do. So we know the sort of things that hold them back. And by speaking to people, the pretty much the number one determining factor on whether someone is going to take action or isn't is in how much pain they're currently in. Are they discontent enough where they are at to actually make a change? And that 2 week period was basically the thing where it made me discontent enough to actually do something. And I just dived super deep into like learning about everything, getting my knowledge up, learning about money, learning about basically how like the financial system worked. And as I'm doing like this really redundant, repetitive, useless task, I looked at it, like I literally remember the minute I was listening to a podcast and the guy said, you need to be irreplaceable, you need to be in demand, you need to be the best at what you do. And I looked at myself basically like shoveling dirt into buckets and I was like, literally anyone on earth could do this. It's just like, just labor basically.
yeah.
So that's when the light bulb came on for me where I was like, I need to do something different where I can become valuable in a different way where it's not tied to my money. That's when I learned about skill sets and that's when I decided to learn sales. But talk about kind of what was the first step for you? What made you actually, and what did you do to kind of take that first step out of that situation that you were in?
Yeah, so it was probably another switch that happened. So we got kicked out of our home that we've had for 18 years. That was pretty much, everyone knew the house. Everyone would always come to that house for whatever it was, events. We got kicked out of it and I felt so powerless. I wanted to be a man to provide for the family and I couldn't even do that when I was working in my warehouse shop. We got kicked out. We had to move in with our cousins and stuff. And then I was like in a room, but it was like so small that you couldn't even walk in the room. So it kind of forced me to lock in. It forced me to get out of this situation that I was in. So I just started to do research on pretty much just how to make money online. I've always wanted to do it, but that's being in that situation forced me to actually do it. And then the more research I started doing it, the more I started to realize that it comes down to what do you want to get out of this? So who do you want to become? What does the future you want out of this? And what do you need to do in order to do that? So it came with research on YouTube. It came with reaching out to people and how they do it. I saw this guy's content. I saw a couple of other boys' content as well. And then I just asked them how it all works. And then went from there. And then now we're here pretty much. So that was pretty much the backstory about how I started to lock in, how I started to look into it more. That's pretty much it, yeah.
Facts. Yeah, so when I was getting started, like I said, I was looking into all these different things, learning about skills, learning about the industry. The very first thing I tried to do was start a social media marketing agency, and I tried to do that on my own. And you probably know as well, like whenever you try to do something on your own, you kind of just eat shit in one way or another because I'm trying to start a social media marketing agency where you need to know how to run ads, you need to know how to acquire clients, you need to know how to sell those clients on buying your service, you need to know how to hire and fire employees, you need to know how to retain clients. It's probably like 10, 20 different skills in one business model. And I'm trying to teach myself all these things and I pretty much didn't get anywhere with it. Then one day I spoke to a guy and he told me about high ticket sales. And then I just joined a few Facebook groups. Someone actually reached out to me. I got on a call with them and they closed me on them being my mentor basically. And he taught me sales and I did sales for the first like 8 months straight. And that's how I got out of my job. I think within 1 month, I was an appointment setter. I made $600 my first week as an appointment setter. And because I was on my phone at work setting appointments when I should have been doing labor basically, they started talking about firing me. And they're like, yeah, Marcel's on his phone too much, XYZ, we're going to get rid of him. And I heard through the grapevine that they wanted to do that. And I said, fuck it. Like, I made $600. I got in my car, I drove, and I didn't hand in my 2 weeks. I didn't do anything. I just left and never came back because I knew they didn't want me there anyway. So me leaving, they weren't too pressed about. I left. I never went back. The next 2 weeks, I only made $250, which was like less than my rent at the time. So I was like, fuck. But I stuck with it. I stayed consistent. I stayed persistent. I didn't get shiny object syndrome. I didn't go back and get a job. I was like, no, I'm just going to burn the boats. If this doesn't work, I can just move back in with my parents. And that's eventually what I ended up doing. I moved back in with my dad, and I literally just, like he said, locked myself in a room. No distractions, no other options, just this. And within 1 month, I had hit my first 10K month. And then we'll get into kind of what was your first win, because after that 10K month, that was my first win. And then everything from there blew up. And that's when we'll go into how we went to from basically like 0 to 50K in just a couple months. But when was your first win and what did it look like?
Yeah, so my story is a bit different. I was in university at the time. I was working a warehouse job as well. So I was doing university, I was working a warehouse job, I was doing this as well, and I was also playing basketball at the same time. So I had 4 different, I guess, career pathways I wanted to pursue at that time. And then I pretty much had to burn the boats, like he said. I had to burn what I was doing when I was studying. So I was studying psychology. I realized that human psychology and sales just pretty much play hand in hand. So what I was doing with high ticket sales, like Marcel said, is I'm learning sales, I'm learning the skills of sales. So I don't really need this degree that I'm doing for 4 years that potentially could get the job that I want. Why don't I just learn it from someone that's already successful, that teaches me the knowledge I need? So I just dropped out of university after the first trimester. So that was one burnt bridge. After that, I started to be an appointment setter as well. I didn't make any bread off that, but I learned the skills of sales from doing that. So then from there, I made my first coin. I quit my job after that. Like he said, barely had any bread whatsoever, but I quit because I burned my bridges with that. So I only had basketball and high ticket sales, what I was doing. So with that, I started to bring in a better, more income, a better flow. But I did hit a point where I wanted to give up, where I wanted to pretty much stop doing all this because I wasn't making enough. I went negative in my bank account. I had a call with one of the boys. After that call, I wanted to quit. I wanted to give up. The next day, I made my first coin. So it kind of went to show if I gave up that night, I wouldn't have made it. And it goes to show the community as well, you know, having the right people around you. But that was kind of the first win for me, was having that call where I wanted to quit. Then after that call, I made my first good coin online where I could fully go all in on it. I think I made $1,000. And then after that, bro, I just started to scale up from there. But, you know, after your 10K month, what did life kind of look like after that?
Yeah, so when I first hit that 10K month, basically my mentor, he was like, I got to 12K actually, just straight sales commissions, nothing else. It was just with like selling people on an e-com mentorship at the time. That was like the high ticket offer that I was selling. And I was making this e-com guy maybe like literally like 100 to 300K a month, just me, just by closing his deals. And there I am making like this other guy rich, and I'm getting 10%. I'm getting like 10 to 20K a month. And I'm thinking like basically grinding, bringing all the money in for this other guy. And that was when my mentor was like kind of pitched me on the idea of like, why don't you become the client? Like, you're doing sales for these clients. Why don't you become the client and start posting content? I started posting content, and this is where we get into how we like pretty much aggressively scaled to those $50,000 months, because with content, you basically can explode your income very, very quickly when you have an offer on the back end. So I basically partnered with my mentor. Instead of going and creating my own like sales offer, I was like, let me just actually become a part of your offer. And you taught me everything I know. So if we teach people everything that I know, then they're going to be far more successful than me going out and try to become a competitor of this, right? Then I started posting content because he pushed me to. Literally within my first 10, 20 videos, I already pretty much had 1 million views, and that was on TikTok. So TikTok was popping at the time. All those followers I would also convert to my YouTube and my Instagram. So I basically started scaling my personal brand across all platforms very quickly. And with that, within 1 to 3 months, I literally jumped from 10K a month. I think the next month was around November, December, I was at 30. And then in January of this year, so it all happened very quickly. I think I first posted content in September. By November, I was at like 30K, same in December. And then come January, I went to Japan, January this year, and hit my first 50K month while in Japan. So you can imagine what I'm thinking as someone who's just been in construction, quit my job, started as a sales rep, hit my first 12K month around September, started posting content. And basically from September to January, exploded my income from basically 0 to 50K a month in a matter of a few months. So completely changed like my whole outlook on life and outlook on what was possible. And that was like my first initial really big jump in income. And to be honest, you probably feel good for like a day or two, and then it just becomes normal. And then it's just like, how do I do the next best thing? So the number that you're bringing in doesn't necessarily matter. The thing that has always been for us is the person you become in the pursuit of that money. A lot of people get it very twisted where they think if I make X amount of money, I'll feel any different. It's not true. You're not going to feel any different at any different level of income, but it's about the person you become in pursuit of those things, right? Because to be the type of person who can make 50, 100K a month, you have to have a certain level of ambition, of vision, of drive, of discipline, of all these different traits that make you a person of value. So that was the biggest thing, is like, if I can become someone that can make 50 to 100K a month, I'm going to be a better individual. I'm going to be closer to the best version of myself. But that was kind of how I exploded my income. So that was my first win and how I got to 50. But what was the biggest thing for you where you kind of pivoted from around 5, 10K a month to hitting those 50K months?
Yeah, I think for me it was more the fact that I had such an untapped audience that I could have tapped into, and we have the same mentor, and we offer the same offer as well with our mentor, and he pretty much told me, like, you have such an untapped audience right now, untapped avatar that you can pursue, and like Marcel said, you can make all the money in the world, but at the end of the day, it's just money, and it's gonna be there. It's something that doesn't make you more valuable or more fulfilled in a certain way. What does make you fulfilled is helping people, having an impact on other people. So my thought process is, what, how could I help as many Polynesian people or warehouse people as much as possible as I can? How can I be the pioneer for that? So for me, it was going from just posting content to really focusing on how can I help Polynesians, how can I help warehouse workers. So that's what I had really good knowledge on, and tapping into that avatar. And I guess after hearing that from our mentor, I started this whole movement of the Poly Takeover, and that's when it started to really kick off. Was I said I was going to do this, and I did it, and then people started to see the results, and results don't lie at the end of the day. So you see a Polynesian start doing well, people tend to follow. People also tend to hate as well, but hate will never come up from above. And if it does, then they see you as a challenge in a sense. So I think for me, bro, it was more tapping into my audience, tapping into who I am and my avatar, of course, and helping as many Polynesians as possible. And then just started to just help as many, bro. I reckon that was just the big thing for me, is helping Polynesians get out of whatever situation they're in. Because I had the knowledge, I was valuable, and people would listen to me, because I guess not many Polynesians can talk on a subject as well as a certain thing like this.
Yeah, they're basically seeing someone from their community actually make something work. So you almost had like this unique advantage in the sense of you've got this whole community, because obviously Polynesians are a tight knit community, where you had made it work, which is not something that really, if it's not in sport, a lot of Polynesians have done. So talk to us a bit about Poly Takeover and kind of what inspired you to start that.
Pretty much the whole like Poly Takeover. What inspired me to do it really was, once again, the fulfillment you get. Like when I made my first sale, the money was cool, but also the fulfillment I got from helping someone, helping them get the knowledge that I have as well. So the Poly Takeover movement is whatever you make it. So for me, it's helping Polynesians. For you, it might be spreading the word of this is how good the Polynesian culture is. So I don't want the Poly Takeover to be under my name. It's everyone's to use at the end of the day. It's just a movement that I started that everyone can be a part of. So when I wake up every single day and I know that I've made an impact on a Polynesian or anyone out there, really, that is what the definition of Poly Takeover is. And there's no better fulfillment than helping or having an impact on someone. And Marcel knows that best with what he has right now as well.
100%. And I always tell people that's like the beauty of the online education industry in what it is. I guess like a lot of people have a negative outlook on online education. They just think like, oh, it's a course, it's this, it's that. But at the end of the day, my whole mindset towards online education in general is you have the traditional education system, and then you have the ability to find people that are living the life that you want to be living. They've done it in the way in which you want to do it, and you can learn from them. And I look at that as someone with critical thinking skills is something that's far more valuable than the traditional education system. You're someone who's been through both, and you can kind of speak on which one did more for you and why it did more for you.
Yeah, so the traditional education, right? Don't get it twisted. It works for some people. I won't lie about that. But for me personally, I'm not waiting 4 years for something that's not guaranteed. Once again, it's not guaranteed that I will get a degree. It's not guaranteed I will get a job. So my thought process on that was 4 years for something that's not guaranteed. Whereas the online education is where you literally get someone who's done what you want to do. So you get a mentor, you get a community that's done everything that you want. So you invest into that, you invest into yourself. You're getting the degree straight away, pretty much. And then it's up to you to take that knowledge and then implement it. So once again, online education, it's up to you once again. But the traditional education, you have to wait 4 years for that to actually be implemented. Whereas the online education, it can be implemented like that.
I think that's the biggest thing is like speed to, because you got to remember, like everyone that goes to uni, we've got very, very limited time here on earth. And you're trying to tell me that it's a better idea to go spend 4 to 8 years. Like I know people like doing law degrees and they're literally there for like 8 years. As you get to 26 before you've even got the opportunity to get a job. And the biggest thing for me was you do all that to get to 26 to maybe get a job. Then you're still working a job, which is like, does anyone really want to be climbing the corporate ladder their whole life? So for me, it was never even an option. One, because I was fucking retarded in school and literally could not go to uni. But two, just I don't want to be successful when I'm 26. I want to be successful when I'm 22, 23, 24, which is what I did. And I very, very much so doubt that I would have done that going through the traditional education system. Because you got to remember, it's these damn Jews that invented the education system because they want working. So we won't get into that because I'm not trying to get banned off YouTube, but the traditional education system was invented to create people that would literally work jobs. If you want a different result and you don't want to be the type of individual who's working a job their entire life, if you want to be working class, that's fine. We're not going to hold you. But if you feel like you're meant for more, it doesn't have to be you. Yes, someone has to do it. It doesn't have to be you. And if you feel completely out of touch and out of alignment with what you want your reality to be when you are working a job, there is the information out there and there's the people out there that are going to be able to give you the information you need to live a different life. And the thing for us was you can see very clearly just by looking at the world that there is a different version of reality that exists. You see people our age, they drive Lambos, they drive Ferraris, they do whatever they want. So you know there's a different version of reality out there and you're not living it. And there needs to be some sort of flick in your mind where you go, there's a different version of reality out there and I'm not living it. And then you need to go, why? And it's literally a matter of knowledge. It's the fact that you do not have the same information and the same knowledge that those people have, but you need to find solace in the fact that the knowledge is out there, the information is out there, and you can go and get it, and that's up to you. But that's why I stand so firmly on online education, because the first step is to find the information and the knowledge yourself. Like you need it first. You can't pour from an empty cup. But then once you have it, you can then make a living of providing that information and that knowledge to other people. Then they can go and provide that to other people. And this is why people sometimes think online education can look like a pyramid scheme or whatever the fuck it is, because in reality it is a pyramid, because the market rewards people for expanding the market. For example, if you're the only person who knows how to start a marketing agency and you teach 2 other people how to start a marketing agency, those 2 people can then teach other people, and you basically create a bigger market and you expand the market, and you obviously get rewarded for being the person with that knowledge. Knowledge is the most valuable thing we have. So by providing knowledge and giving information, you're creating value for yourself, and you get rewarded for that. But it doesn't mean it's a scam. You can have really, really valuable information and you're going to get rewarded for that if you know how to monetize it correctly. That's my take on why online education is the most important thing. But enough on that now. I'm assuming if you're watching this, you guys are all open-minded enough to understand that online education is going to be one of the biggest industries, if not already the biggest industry. But let's now give the people some game on exactly what steps they should take. For you, if they're a Polynesian, they're watching this video, they haven't been able to get started yet, they know they want to change. What is like the number one thing that they can do to get started and start taking steps in the right direction?
I think the number one thing for Polynesians that they can do is expand their knowledge. We're so stereotyped to just work a labor job or do something as cracking in sports. That's all we're stereotyped to do. And I think breaking out of that stereotype or breaking out of that norm is so simple. It's just expanding your knowledge. So that could be anything. It could be anything you enjoy doing. It doesn't have to be whatever this is. It's just what worked for me. But my advice for you is expand your knowledge on what you like doing. So for me, I just wanted to help people as much as possible. That's why I went to uni to do psychology, to become a counselor. Throughout that pathway, I realized that sales is helping people as well. So how can I help Polynesians learn skills like sales? So sales, pretty much for me, improve my communication skills. That's once again a stereotype factor that Polynesians lack. You know, they don't know how to talk properly. They don't know how to punctuate words in a certain way, where I suffer with that many times. You know that, but I've improved a lot from where I was to where I am now. So not only is that going to be a moving factor to improve your life, but also the life you want to live. So expand your knowledge, and also just no matter what anyone tells you, if you believe you can do something, just do it. Because at the end of the day, it comes within on the person you want to become. There's a lot of tall poppy syndromes when it comes to Polynesians or even New Zealand, Australia, whatever it is. If you're getting hated on or you're getting told not to do something when you've wanted to do that, just do it. Because what's the worst going to happen is you're just going to have so much self-doubt that you're just not going to do it. You're just not going to think about it. And then you're going to realize when you're 30 years old, fuck, I should have just done it. Fuck, I should have just done it. I should have just done what I said I was going to do. But you just let other people's opinion get to you. So that is a tough thing that many Polynesians suffer with. But the best advice I'd give to you is just do it. Put your heart into it. Believe in yourself, because that's where most of it comes to. And then ultimately, if you're watching this as well, put your faith in God, because that's ultimately who created us, right? So we're a creation. We're, childs of God. So if you put God instead of your life and you put faith in Him that His plan is going to work, and then you don't have to worry about nothing, just do what needs to be done. Pretty much that was where I want to touch base on, is just putting God in the center of your life. And my boy Marcel knows about that as well. Recently just baptized as well. So I reckon that was the best advice I could give to a Polynesian right now.
100%, I would agree. And in terms of just getting started, like, you guys would have heard me speak about it before, but you just need to cast a vision. That's like the number one step. If you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. So cast that vision for yourself. The second thing that you need is belief. You need to actually believe that you can get that, because without belief, there's no point even getting started. There's no point doing anything if you don't truly believe in your heart of hearts that you're going to accomplish that. Then once you have, a belief, you know where you're going, then you just need a plan. And I truly believe the plan is always going to come down to just building the skill sets. So when it comes to the plan, like you were saying, it comes down to your knowledge, because once you've got the vision, you've got the belief, then you just need to actually take action. And the majority of that action is going to be picking up the information, finding the knowledge, learning the skill sets that are going to allow you to achieve that vision. So that sounds very wishy-washy, but very in simple: know what you want, develop the skill sets that are going to get you what you want. And for a big part, it's going to be learning how to sell, learning how to market yourself, learning content creation, and then learning how to actually be disciplined and learning how to actually be obsessed with your craft and put the work in. That's where most people go wrong, is like they know what they need to do. They know how they would get there, but they just don't take action on it. We know countless people that are like that. So how do you get to a point where you've got all those things? And that's kind of like the magic formula of getting what you want. And yeah, for me and him, we both invested in finding someone that had the knowledge and had the information in their brain to get us to where we are now. And I think we would both say that that's the number one thing and the number one reason and the number one thing that catapulted us to where we are, is actually having someone that can just say, do this. I did this and it worked, so now you're going to do it, and here's how you do it. Because if you want to do it on your own, go ahead and do that. But just be aware that it's probably going to, either end up in you quitting, because when things start to go wrong, you don't know how to fix them, and then you just give up. Or you taking years and years longer than you need to, because basically someone with the knowledge is just a cheat code to getting you there faster, because you learn from their mistakes and their lessons rather than your own. So those are the key things for actually getting started on this. Before we wrap it up, talk about what your plans are moving forward, what your plans are for 2025, and what next year's looking like, and where we're heading.
Yeah, 2025 is going to be a movie for real. For me, actually, I'm going to Turkey right now. So I'm going to Turkey on Sunday, get my teeth done, get some veneers. So next time you see me, Probably gonna be with some better teeth and shit. Get my teeth done in Turkey. Come back to Christmas, New Year's here, and then we're going to Japan at the start of Jan, and then from the 20th to the 27th, we're going to Dubai, and then in Feb, not too sure what the plan is, but might be Bali, it might be Gold Coast again, moving in with Marcel, maybe Finn as well if he locks in.
What are your plans with business? Like, what are your goals moving forward?
Goals, 100K months. Want to be hitting 100K months by February, 100%. I see that as a clear goal that I want to hit in terms of money-wise. But in terms of business-wise, just constant improvement in terms of content creation, sales skills, marketing skills, everything just to improve on the skills that we're doing and we're learning every single day. But, in terms of the goal is 100K months, and also probably retire my family by next year at 21 years old. What a story that would be, huh?
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's the biggest thing for me as well. Obviously, my goal is to hit 100K month in January, but the biggest thing for me is obviously impacting other people. I'm sure you're the same. I think I've got a big group of boys that I work with internally, and I'm trying to scale them. But I've got like an internal group within an internal group where like they're far more committed than the other people, XYZ. So my goal is to get the 3 to 4 guys that I'm working with closely and mentoring them closely out of their jobs. They're all still working. Actually, one of them's already left, so it's really only like 3 other boys. If I can get all 3 of them out of their job by February, March, then I feel like that's going to be a good job. And if I look at it in the sense of if I can get 3-4 people out of their job, then I can get 400 people out of their job, get them out of their job. And then obviously the end goal is to make 1,000 millionaires. And obviously that's a bit of a longer term goal, but I think when you have goals and stuff that are outside of yourself, that's when you go the furthest. So those are our goals moving forward. That's the plan. It was a pleasure having you guys here today. I hope you guys got some value from this.
Thank you, my dog.
Any last words, Nelly?
Just praise our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Praise God. You guys keep God in your life. Get your money up. Work hard. And we'll see you guys at the top.
Thank you, my dog.
Thank you, my doggo.